Okay, great. Okay, so we are live. I can see some of the viewers who will be coming in a few minutes. So today's webinar is actually a very interesting topic that we have. Over the last, 2.5 months, a lot of people who have enrolled for the latest UpGrad Digital Marketing Certification Program partnered with MICA, right? A lot of you have had a lot of questions around the program itself because we have tried a lot of different elements and brought in a lot of practical aspects into the program. And what we thought best would be to actually bring in one of our students from one of our earlier batches, right, and actually discuss some of her experiences in the program itself, right? So what I'm going to do, guys, I can see a lot of you are joining in at the moment. Great to see all of you coming in on a Wednesday evening, right? Yeah, so a bit about myself. I'm Neil. I currently manage marketing and growth here at UpGrad, and also look at the digital marketing program and the category of digital in UpGrad, right? Today, I have with me someone very special, Pooja, right? So Pooja is there with us. She has more than 8 years of experience in marketing, right? And she had a lot of focus in content marketing specifically. And right now, as we speak, post the program, she has had a successful transition as a digital marketing strategist in Clevertap. Clevertap is one of the most popular tools when it comes to marketing analytics in India or even in APAC, right? And even at UpGrad, we use Clevertap, right? So that's a great successful transition that Pooja has made, right? And so I've been talking to Pooja before as well, and she was able to leverage the digital marketing program in the right manner, right? Because it's not just about what a program offers to you, it's also about how you use that investment and take it to the next level, right? So before any further ado, I'll bring Pooja on center stage. Pooja, hi, how are you doing?
Hi Neil, doing great. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing great too. Okay, so Pooja, before anything, if you could please introduce yourself to the audience that we have today.
Sure. Hey guys, this is Pooja. I'm a digital marketing strategist at Clevertap. Like Neil mentioned, Clevertap is a mobile analytics and user engagement tool. We are a US-based startup, a small team, growing big now. Previously to Clevertap, I've been in the digital space, although I've been more into content marketing. I have a year of experience in PR. I've done product marketing. I've done content marketing and social media at different B2C as well as B2B companies. And here I am to talk to you about my experience at UpGrad.
Great, great, great. Thanks a lot, Pooja. Also, guys, a quick housekeeping rule here, right? I'm sure a lot of you must have a lot of questions that are, coming up. And what we are going to do is that towards the end of the program, we are going to have a Q&A session, right? Where I'll be answering some of these questions that you might have, right? So please feel free to post in your questions, right? And we'll be taking them one by one towards the end of it, right? Pooja, thanks a lot again for taking out the time on a busy Wednesday evening, right? And thanks a lot. So before anything, I want to understand, even before you taking the program, I want to understand, why UpGrad, and tell us a bit about what inspired you to take the UpGrad digital marketing program.
Okay, so actually an interesting story. I was looking to get a new job. And while a consultant connected me with your marketing head at UpGrad, I started talking to Anshul, and during my conversation, I realized that he had so much knowledge about content marketing as well as just digital marketing on the whole. So he told me so many things about how you do things related to content marketing across the customer's purchase funnel. And such things inspired me, and I was like, maybe I should learn so much more about this. And instead of actually picking up the job, I went about and Googled and figured out what UpGrad does, what is the course about, and understood the curriculum. I've done a couple of online courses before, but I found this a little more intensive, and I thought it's something that's going to help me. So I think that's why UpGrad.
Okay. Okay, that's actually very interesting. Great. Okay, so the next question that comes to my mind is so what did you expect from the program? Because you said that you have done some online courses before, and you have a fairly good knowledge in digital already. So what kind of what were you really looking at when you were enrolled for the program?
So when I look into something that I'm going to invest, not only money but even my time, I look at something that I would get out of it. I didn't come to UpGrad only because I wanted a job. I came in here for the knowledge. And when I did look through the curriculum and I saw that how neatly things were planned as per different modules, I understood that there's going to be a lot of things that are covered across. It's not just you touch upon a topic and you maybe jump away into something else. So then I pretty much figured out that this is going to be a little more in depth, which meant I was going to spend a lot of time on this. And I didn't want to do something just for the heck of a certification. And when I look through, your concepts of having real world case studies and people from the industry coming and talking to us, and the live project was something that I was kicked about and said, wow, actually somebody is going to be spending money on what I learn, and I believe the whole team. So what we learn and what we are going to put out there, that was interesting. And I think that's why I chose this above the other ones that I kind of researched.
Okay, great. Okay, that's great. So the next part of this topic, we would want to understand a bit more about your learning curve, right? To start off with, how did you like the curriculum structure? Because we have actually planned the learning curve and the structure in a way where we kind of teach you the basics first, then we deep dive into each of these different elements in digital, completely with data-driven case studies and industry projects, like you mentioned, and then we kind of collate it back to create a digital marketing strategy plan, right? So this entire framework, how did you experience that learning curve?
So Neil, it's really interesting when you talk about this framework because I didn't think of it like that when I was studying. So for me, it was as if it was made for me. The way I study is probably you look at the basics first and then you have a small little test in between. Your content, when there is videos put up on the UpGrad course, there are little questions in between. So those questions help you. Otherwise, people will just play a video and walk off, maybe go get a coffee and come back. But here with UpGrad, every video is something that you have to actually look at, listen to what is being taught, because in between there are quick questions. And this is not to tell you that you're not doing a good job, but it's nice because you kind of test yourself at every point. And the bite-sized content is really nice because the videos are not very long. The videos are just about 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes. And also the entire course has this tracker. So every time you finish a page, you quickly know that you finished this and you're on the next page and you have just 2 more pages left. That kind of motivates you and inspires you that, okay, you have just this much to finish off. Especially because we have such heavy deadlines, even with the course as well as at work. So you know that, you finish just this much and I can pick up this last bit maybe over the weekend. I can do something else when I have free time. So, you can also plan your day in such a way that you finish the entire course as well as you complete other things in life. So yeah, I like the way that the content was structured. I like the way that you first touched upon basics and then we deep dove into so many little nuances, like say Google Analytics was a very intensive module wherein we actually had to spend more time and there were more workshops around it and a lot of people had questions around it. So that was, where to give more time to and which are the modules where you give very little time to. And I think the summaries that you had at the end of every module was amazingly interesting because sometimes you forget what you started with. So, when you come back to the summary, because that's how I study, I make notes and in the end, I just have a glance at the quick pointers. So the summaries really help a lot. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's great. I really like the point you made about the tracker, right? I
Yeah.
think it's one of those elements which a lot of the students kind of really appreciate because they realize that, okay, I'm like 50% down and
True.
50% is left,
It
right?
plays on your mind. Yeah. You just know that, okay, itna hi bacha hai, so we'll finish it off.
Right. Sure. Perfect. Great. So in terms of content, right, I wanted to understand what was like the best module for you, or which were the great modules that you remember, like which made
Okay.
an impact.
So, see, since I am into content marketing and social media, those are the, the key areas that I would have concentrated a lot upon. And it was more like validation for me that I did well in these modules. So, I kind of scored full marks, I guess. I don't remember right now. Okay, so these modules actually taught me from basics, because sometimes when you jump into work and you actually do social media, you forget few little basics. So when you learn from basics to actually the advanced portions of your own work, you feel you feel nice and acknowledged kind of a feeling. So it also gave me little tips and tricks within my own work, how I could make a better social media calendar and things like that. So that I even use today. Apart from that, there are certain sections of the course which were totally new to me. Say Google Analytics, even though I've heard of it, I've seen colleagues use it, I never got my hands dirty with it. But now that I actually went through the UpGrad course, I'm a little more confident on Google Analytics as something that could be part of my profile, which it is right now. And yeah, so learning new things is always great. Things like the search engine marketing, things like website development. That was a really nice module, because as a marketer, maybe a content or a social media person, you would really not get a chance to do something like that. But when you see, and you usually get an agency or somebody else to build your website. But it's very interesting for a marketer to be there at the strategy phase, because you're in the company and you know exactly what your company needs to put out on the website. So it's very interesting to be part of that and actually put out your CTAs, your framework, how you want to visualize the website, and then pass on the brief to an agency. You feel a little more confident. So I think overall the content was nice because I knew certain parts and there was a lot more for me to learn. So yeah, great.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Also, you mentioned a few things. I remember where you were saying that you like try to apply a few things on the job as well, right? So I think that's a very good thing, because like applying real life elements that you learned in the program to your job would be amazing,
Yeah.
right? So in terms of say the teachers, right, or the instructors, who was your favorite in the program?
I don't remember all their names, but I think I do remember a couple of modules that were taught really well, mostly under content marketing itself. And I think Sujay was a person that I understood his methodology of talking and teaching, because some people know their stuff really well, or they may not be so great at, giving out that knowledge. But
Right.
amongst everybody, I mean, I'm sure UpGrad has chosen the right people to give us this. But amongst them, Sujay was somebody who delivered his content really well.
Okay, interesting. Great. Okay, so in terms of the practical elements, right? I wanted to understand, like, how do you think these case studies, actually helped you understand how brands really try to solve their problems with digital as a solution? So, how were the case studies like in terms of your experience?
The case studies were across different companies. So we had both B2C as well as B2B companies giving us case studies. And it was interesting because these are real world examples that you are dealing with. So it's very nice to know that you're not the only person, or you're not the only marketer who is going through so much of trouble and trauma in life. You know that there are bigger companies also facing such issues. So
Right.
I'd like to highlight the Momo case study, which was in the fintech space. And at that point, when I was doing the course, I was also working in a fintech company. We were working with a wallet. So I could connect so easily with whatever problems Momo was facing. And when they were building out their marketing strategy is pretty much what we do back at work. So, picking up tactics from my job to that, as well as pricking in whatever worked well in the case study to what we do at our work was a very good mix. And as I scored quite well in that particular case study, I also had a chance to talk to the CEO of Momo. So it was nice
Right.
that we exchanged notes and stuff, and that was really good. Apart from that, I think Zivami's case study is something that I enjoyed thoroughly, maybe because I'm also a customer, and it's really nice when you see their emails, you feel like this is written for me. There's so much personalization that happens that you feel like the company or the brand really knows you. And now that I work with a company that's all about segmentation and personalization, I totally understand that, how important it is for a marketer. And it's really nice to figure out what these people did and how they went about thinking about things like this. So case studies were a wow.
Okay, okay, great, great. So yeah, so from the content now, let's move a little to your specific experience, right? So I know this because I've been telling this to like all the students and all the prospects that see it's a 5 month program. Okay, you'll be spending 6 to 8 hours a week, but make sure that like you register that it's very intensive. It's not a very light
Sure.
program, right? So from that, yeah, you know that better than me, right? So from that standpoint, like how did you balance, both the program and the work, because you were working at that point and it was a pretty hectic work life for you as well. So how did you manage the both?
What can I say? I'm somebody who, in case I have invested my money as well as I have to get some ROI out of it, I would do anything to finish it. So that's me
Okay.
as a person. But apart from that, I think it's very interesting if you understand why you're doing this. If you know that you're doing this for the knowledge, for your own career growth, you would put in that time and effort. It does mean that you have to spend weekends on studies. You will have to spend, maybe a couple of hours in the weekdays also, because if you push everything to the weekend, it just gets a little too much in your head. So things like
Right.
the tracker and things that I just mentioned about, it's very easy to finish little bits during the weekdays. Maybe when you have a little break between work, you come back home, finish watching your favorite television show, and then you spend just 1 hour. You listen to a couple of videos and you see what you can do, what you can't. Leave the big things for the weekend. You can always get back to it because the tracker will say that this part is incomplete, not finished. So you don't have to sit and think, oh, what did I leave out? What did I forget? So you can always come back and finish those incomplete bits and make sure you finish your submissions in time. And there's always the buddy. Is it Ishani even now? So she used to
Yeah,
remind
yeah.
us. She used to keep giving us these reminders. But that way, UpGrad does a lot. Huh? They send you emails and push notifications and everything to remind you saying deadline, 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 and you have to finish it. So it's a lot of motivation that way.
Great, great, great. Okay, so coming to the next point, in terms of your peers, right? How were your batchmates like, and what was the experience like? Because it's an online program, and where you're doing it from a remote situation, either from your home or from your work. But then, did your batchmates also influence you in any way, like in terms of the interaction that you had with them?
See, I think our batch was a good mix. We had a couple of people with a lot of experience. We had budding marketers. We had people like me switching from content to more of data and metrics and things. So it was a very good mix. A lot of freshers also were part of the batch. So on our discussion forum, we had very interesting topics wherein somebody asks a question, somebody answers. We had questions around topics that were discussed. A lot of people gave in their resources, help from what their current company does and things like that. So that ways it was really good. The WhatsApp group was, I think, buzzing with energy all the time, including the good morning and good evening messages that were coming by. But it just became like a good, group. And when we had to maybe push a deadline during Diwali or Christmas, all of us on the WhatsApp were busy chatting with Ishani. So it just becomes a nice mix. You feel like you're going back to school or college and you have like a bunch of people doing what you are doing. So it's nice that ways. And even now, I think sometimes we do post on the same group. Each of us have, openings at our companies. And even now, the entire group helps a little bit. Somebody gives you a lead or so. And yeah, it's a good mix of people to deal with.
Okay, awesome, cool. So now coming to, I think, the question that a lot of people are waiting for, right? So, and I want to hear it like very honestly, right? Like, how has the upgrad program really helped you, upskill? Because you mentioned that you were in content before, and now you're moving, and you've moved to a position where it's, a digital strategy level, which also involves a lot of data, right? So with respect to your new job, right, how, and with all the things that you're managing right now, right, how do you think the upgrad program has helped you, train in that thought process?
Okay, so before I tell you about that, let me just give everybody a disclaimer that no course, no college, no school ever promises you a job. Okay, when you have to get a job, you'll get a job because of your skill sets, because of your knowledge. But what you can do is build that skill set or that knowledge. And that's where UpGrad helped me or will help many like me, because you must believe that if you have the knowledge, then you're going to be more confident about a new role that you want to take up. I was really confident about my social media skills, about my content marketing skills. But if I want to grow beyond that and do something more challenging, which is what I wanted to do, I had to learn somewhere. And on my current job, when I'm busy doing Twitter and Facebook, nobody's going to come and give me Google Analytics and say, do this. So when I did UpGrad, I understood that there's so much more in the digital space that I could learn about. And when I came back for an interview at different companies, including at Clevertap, I was a little more confident when somebody said, have you worked on Google Analytics? Do you know how much traffic social media can bring in? Can you talk about, your click-through rates on email campaigns? Because mostly as a content person, you talk about open rates. Was your email opened or not? You have to figure out more and more and more. So the more deeper you get is when you got the knowledge from somewhere. It could be either your own ways of studying. It could be a course like UpGrad. It could just be, talking to a mentor. So it's up to you to figure out where you want to get this knowledge. And once you get the knowledge, be confident about that knowledge, either in an interview or even afterwards. If you're just going to fake it in an interview, somebody's going to look through it. So it's just about you actually use that knowledge in your job, and that's when you're going to excel. So look at the knowledge, job aa jayega. It'll happen. So even with Clevertap, the same thing happened with me. They were looking for somebody who had the skill sets for content marketing, but who had a mindset more around analytics, around metrics, more data driven basically. Because our company itself is into, analytics and mobile user engagement. And I think they found a good fit in me and things worked well. So.
Great. So yeah, so I think we have a little more time. So I wanted to ask you, Pooja, like, so now in Clevertap, right? How does your, day-to-day, life in office look like? Like, what are you kind of managing, doing? If you want to share that with us.
See, I take care of content when it comes to the blog as such. And
Okay.
When you talk about blogs and white papers, it's basically around content creation. So even though I don't have too much time to write every single blog, we do have a cadence of, putting up 2 or 3 blogs a week. And we get a couple of guest writers, we get internal teams to help us, and we create content. But creating content is only up to a certain level that people can do it. After that, it's how you amplify and how you distribute the content. So that happens majorly via social media and influencer marketing. So that's what I take care of, which is majorly content distribution. And when I do that over social media, it's both through organic as well as paid campaigns. And how we measure ourselves is basically with the MQLs that you have at the end of the day. But everyone doesn't talk only about an MQL. We also talk about the amount of time spent on our blog. We talk about the click-through rates on our social campaigns. We actually see the kind of traffic that's coming from these mediums. We do a lot of UTM campaigns. So we understand what works, what doesn't work, what kind of content should we invest more time, more effort into, and things like that. So incidentally, I just joined, in the end of April. And every time Clevertap's traffic on the website has always grown through organic, which is basically SEO. But after I've joined in, in the traffic, if you see, the first level goes to Twitter right now. So we've got the most number of traffic coming in from Twitter. And
Wow.
yeah, so it's something nice that you actually are acknowledged with the work that you put in for the entire month. So for the entire of May, Twitter stands on top of everything else. So yeah, it just feels nice.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, I just felt like I'm talking to a digital marketing strategist.
Oh my
Perfect.
God.
Okay, great. So yeah, so like Pooja, I think like after the program got over for you, I think, or while it was getting over, you also, like, out of the sheer aspiration that you had and the experience with UpGrad, you had also written a blog on LinkedIn, right? And what I did was that I took the liberty of taking a small snippet out of that blog for this for this webinar, and I
Okay.
thought, I would just read it out to all the students as well. Sorry, all the prospects who can potentially become our students as well, right? Yeah. So, and I kind of call it the final verdict, right? And I really liked this part because I think you mentioned some very interesting aspects here. So I'll just quickly read it. So you say that this course has benefited me at many different levels. I see myself as a much more confident digital marketer. My social media campaigns are no longer ranked on the creativity I bring, but also on how I optimize the campaigns and benchmark against competition and previous campaigns based on the CPCs and the CPMs, right? The quality of my marketing leads has seen considerable improvement post applying the lead nurturing techniques that I had learned. I have found more logical and scientific methods to hunt down influencers in my space of work to follow on social channels. My email campaigns are measured on click-through rates rather than just open rates, and my content for the retention and engagement campaigns ensure high relevance thanks to the retargeting techniques I have learned during the course. So I think, like, all in all, this shows that, the fact that the program was so data driven really helped you grasp a lot of it, right? So I think, Pooja, thanks a lot for taking out the time again, on a Wednesday evening. And before like the final verdict from you, I just want to understand, like, if you have anything to say to all the prospects that are here today, right, before you leave us for the day, right, like any kind of words of aspirations, because we have a lot of people here today who are either say into digital marketing or planning to start a career in digital, or people say who are into traditional marketing and sales roles and want to transition into digital, right? So if you have anything that you want to tell them because you went through the journey which they can potentially get into, so yeah,
Sure.
please go ahead.
Thanks, Neil. So, guys, I mean, I'm not somebody old enough to give advice, but like Neil said, since I have gone through the course, if you do take up the course, either this or any other course that you take up, just make sure that you give in your best, put in as much as effort and time that you can, because nothing ever goes for waste. Whatever you study, because when I was doing the course, I was very interested in B2C topics, but I didn't care so much about the B2B. But since I had put in, so much time and effort, I knew my B2B also quite well. And today I work in a B2B firm. So it comes back, everything comes back. Nothing you study ever goes for waste. When it comes to education, nothing goes for waste. So make sure you get the best knowledge out of any source that you have. And don't worry only about jobs. Jobs will come. Just make sure that you have the knowledge and the skill sets right. Be confident about what you want to do, and things will work out. So all the very best. Thanks, Neil. Thanks a lot. It was good chatting.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So great, Pooja. Thanks a lot for again taking out the time, right? And what I'm going to do now is that, like, we'll definitely be in touch, and Pooja will definitely, share this with all the prospects that were not able to attend today's webinar as well, right? So thanks a lot, Pooja, for taking out the time today. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Okay, great. Okay, so thanks a lot, guys, for staying and witnessing Pooja's story with me today. Right. Again, I'll quickly do a recap, but before that, I can see a lot of questions coming in. Right. So I see that you might have a lot of questions for me. You might have a lot of questions for Pooja as well. Right. You can definitely connect with her on LinkedIn, or if you have any specific questions, we can definitely route it to her as well. Right? So I already see a lot of questions flooding in already. Please feel free to share your questions regarding the program specifically, or if you have any questions related to digital careers as well, I can definitely assist you with that. Right? So all in all, in a quick nutshell, I think what we figured out was Pooja, who was into content and social before this, kind of got an overall holistic picture of what digital is, right? And that really helped her transition into a new role and a more holistic role at Clevertap, right? So great. I think I'll now start taking the questions that are coming in, right? So the first one is, this is the first course you are doing with the tie-up of MICA, right? How different is it from your previous course? And what is the value add compared to, say, the other free paid online digital marketing courses? Great. Okay. So, so thanks a lot for asking this question. if you all must know that, till now we have already had more than 300 plus students coming in, and with the MICA program we are actually having more than 200 students. We've already enrolled more than 150 for this batch. Right now, in terms of the difference and what MICA really brings onto the table is very important, right? Because see, we'll be very honest with you. Our first version of the program came out somewhere like say 6 to 8 months back, right? And like any other program, it is not a picture perfect situation in the first go, right? So with our initial batches, we have iterated, understood the feedback from all our students about the different components of the program, right? And what we realized is that we need, like we have already had a lot of industry partners, lecturers who have come in, who are already from a working background, who are digital heads and marketing heads across Asia Pacific and India, right? But what we also realize is that we need a university partnership, right? Whereas wherein the university experts can actually come onto the table and with UpGrad actually help us structure and add more value, right? So MICA brings with it a lot of premium communication and strategy building, right? Which holistically applies to marketing and not just digital, right? Because at the end of the day, all the brands that are applying digital right now are applying digital as a part of a holistic marketing strategy, right? So within the MICA influence, we are actually having Siddharth Deshmukh, we are having a few others also who are coming in as lecturers. These are associate deans and heads of strategy partnership from MICA, who are actually taking the time out and coming in and teaching you guys in this program. Also, they'll be taking live hangout sessions to help you understand better concepts and frameworks around customer journeys and how things are not just online and offline anymore. It's a holistic framework and ecosystem, right? So that's a bit about what the new program has. Also, as I mentioned, with every iteration, and now I think our program is at a position where we have understood all the elements, we have understood which elements to focus on more, things that students from our feedback from the past have told us that yeah, these areas are really great, but I wish this was also there, right? And I wish that was also there. I wish the case studies had a lot more data and we added more data. I wish that live projects were like had more time given to us, and we did add that, right? So different elements, nuances that we have added to the the program, the way the learning platform looks like, the discussion forum, right? The way you understand and track your progress, and definitely our career, opportunities and the career support that we have for the program, right? A few USPs now is that we have actually introduced one-on-one mentorships, right? Where you have mentorship calls with digital experts, where you can actually, brainstorm that, okay, this is where I am right now. Should I look at a career transition, a shift, or a complete move into digital at the moment, right? Is something that these mentorship calls can really help you in. Or if you're looking to start your own, like if you already have a business and you want to, pivot it across digital, right, and sell more in digital, then you can definitely use these mentorship calls as well, right? So going to the next question, do we get to work on tools during our projects? What are the tools that you cover? Right. So that's a pretty interesting question. Yes. So in terms of the projects, right, we have we have around 10 to 12 tools that we are covering across these 5 months, right? And these tools come in as and when the respective modules and channels are being taught, right? So for example, if you are running live campaigns on Google AdWords, on Google Search, as well as display networks, right? You will be learning the AdWords interface, right? With that, you will also be learning other tools. Say, for example, if you are in the SEO segment, right, you might be learning how to focus and relook at webmaster tools, for example, right? If you are in social media, you will learn about how to use something like, say, Hootsuite for social scheduling, right? So as and when the different modules actually come into the picture, you will be learning these different tools, but not just learning them, but also applying them in an actual industry case, right? Or a case study, right? Or even a live campaign, right? Okay, the next question is, how do you see digital marketing 5 years from now, and how do you see it impact? How do you see the impact of automation in this space? Okay, that's a very interesting question, very thoughtful. Okay, so So I think in 2017 we are at a very interesting junction right now, where I think the question is no longer is digital here to stay, or is it just a bubble that's gonna leave. It's here to stay for the long run, right? With digital and data advancing, right? Over the next at least 5 to 8 years, right? You will see the growth of digital in terms of the kind of jobs and the volumes of jobs that are being catered, or sorry, are like required in brands as well as agencies. Why? Because it's a simple equation, right? More and more brands want to advertise where their customers are present currently, and the income generating population is actually more and more present on digital nowadays, right? Be it online, on social networks, or on display mediums, right? We are always consuming content, or always viewing content in static or video forms, either in social networks or on display networks, right? So, or we are searching for things on Google search, right? So when it comes to that, brands want to use and actually leverage, and actually be in front of consumers wherever possible in a more contextual manner. And with digital, they also get a lot of value in terms of data, right? So if there's a TVC campaign which they want to launch, where they need to spend 10 crores, they might probably do a smaller YouTube campaign of say 50 lakhs and figure out whether the campaign really worked or not before they move into a TVC model, just for example, right? But in the next 5 to 8 years, you'll see a lot of growth, because the demand is more and the supply needs to compensate that, right? Now, coming to the next part, which is automation, right? See, as we move into more of a automated format, where data is getting more and more visible, right? Data is becoming cleaner, right? The way we look at data and the way we consume data to gather insights is also improving, right? Automation will help brands and agencies both, like create those templates or checklists of simple tasks which are repetitive and redundant, right? But at the end of the day, to make insights, to take insights out of data, to slice data, to figure out how strategies are working versus how they are not, right? What is working on which channel, how to grow a particular channel versus how to shrink one, because the spends that you're putting there are not giving you a positive ROI, is something that you can never automate, right? You can definitely set up triggers even with the higher states of automated engines. If you even look at something like a lead nurturing situation, right, where you have something like a HubSpot or a drip.io, which is a tool which tells you that, okay, whenever someone has finished these kinds of actions, send them those emails, right? The emails, what they contain, the priority of those emails, right? Whom do you send what, right? After which point do you send someone a sales email, etc., is still something which the marketer needs to do. So automation is going to make our lives easier. It is not going to take away our jobs. We are not at that standpoint at the moment, right? Okay, so next question by Yatharth Thakur, right? I am a web developer, so how do I start my career in digital marketing? So Yatharth, a great question. So if you're a web developer, I'm sure you'll be already interested. So you already have a background understanding about CMS, HTML, coding, right? With respect to web development, right? So you can definitely. It really depends on what you are really interested in, right? Because at the end of the day, right, when you have like a particular skill set, that can definitely help you evolve into the digital domain. With respect to your current experience, you can move into more of a website development role, right? You can move into more of an SEO, technical SEO role, right? But then again, you need to understand whether you are interested in that role or not, right? So that's why I keep on telling folks that you might have a skill set in a particular domain. It might lead to the most simplest transition into a digital domain, like say SEO in your case. But at the end of the day, you need to understand the entirety of digital to have a perspective that, okay, these are the 3 to 4 rules that are there. These are the kind of KPIs that each of them entail. And these are the kind of tactics and strategies that I have to do, right? Because just transitioning is not important. Transitioning and staying in digital for 3 years, 5 years, 8 years is something that you need to look at. So from that point, maybe you could look at SEO, right, or the technical side of website building development, right? And from SEO, you can grow more and more into say content, SEO, right, and lead nurturing, automation, that entire pie, right? But it really depends on what your interests are So I would really suggest get into the digital atmosphere once, understand it end to end before you dive in with a career transition, right? Great. So Varun Shah is saying that how many sessions would be taken by the MICA faculty? Okay, so that's a great question. The way I would like to answer that is not by the number of sessions, because what happens is that different sessions have different duration times, right? But in terms of the split in terms of percentage, I can tell you that MICA faculty is taking at least 35 to 40% of the program content, right? Which is also balanced by all the industry experts coming in, right? So think of it in this way, right? On one hand, you have the MICA faculty who are already experienced for 15 to 20 years, who have seen digital move in into traditional and how the transition is happening. And then on the other side, you have these industry experts who are teaching you these channels, which they have expertise in over the last 10 to 15 years or even 5 years, right? So that is something which you should focus on. But yeah, the MICA, faculty is coming in not only just teaching you as lecturers, but also will be coming in for live interactions as well, right? Great. Okay. Okay, so Abhishek is asking me a question which a lot of people have asked me before. Hi, can the course be completed in fast track? Right. What also what is about the Facebook certificate? Okay, so Abhishek, to answer the first part of your question, the program currently, if you're already having a job, right, is a little hectic, as Pooja mentioned, in terms of the intensity that it has. Even though we say 6 to 8 hours, that's of dedicated engagement that you need, right? From a fast track standpoint, sadly, we have these checkpoints or deadlines, as Pooja mentioned today, right? And these deadlines are in itself a little difficult to achieve, right? So in terms of the 5 month program, we really can't condense it into a 2 month program, right? But if you start the program, then it will be 5 months. And what you can then do is that if you have a lot more time, you can actually research, because the program gives you a great platform to expand your knowledge base, right? So even if you are doing the X number of things that everyone else is doing in your batch, we have a lot of additional reading material and videos that you can consume, right, as optional material, right, which can pave new avenues for you in terms of learning more and more, right? So you can give a lot more time, right? But one more thing as advice that I would like to give you is that if you are a little new to digital, then it takes some time for these concepts to actually get grasped into, right? So you might need, so for example, a little difficult module like say search engine marketing might take you 2 to 3 weeks to digest, because you might want to look at the videos again and again, right? The assignments might take a little longer, the case studies might be a little difficult to crack because of so much of data involved which you need to crunch, right? You might need to look at the solutions and try it again, etc., right? So to answer the second part of your question, right, what is about the Facebook certificate? So this is like a great initiative that Facebook has taken with UpGrad, right? We are the first and the only institute in India at the moment, right, who has a dedicated Facebook certification, right? So the social media module that you have also has a lot of heavy dense core material on Facebook, both paid as well as organic. And if you successfully complete the social media module, you will also get a dedicated certificate, and this is mentioned in the brochure as well. You can check it out how it looks, right, from Facebook, right, which will be applicable for a year in terms of its authenticity, and this is Facebook giving it to you, right? Great. So one more question by Abhishek is, I am a PR professional, so was looking forward to the course as it mentioned digital and communication. So what bit of communications will be talked about? Okay. So think about it this way, right? If you look at digital, right, on one hand, you have these different channels. On one hand, you have these different targeting options or methodologies in which you can reach out to your personas or your target audiences in these channels, right? And when you reach out to them, how do you reach out to them is the communication strategy, right? So the communication strategy is what is very important, and it is there in every aspect of digital, right? So now as we are slowly moving into an era where you really can't fool the search engines anymore, to create amazing content, you'll actually have to write amazing content which is useful to the users. The entire of content marketing, the entire of SEO, the entire of social media from a distribution standpoint is what we are covering in terms of communication, right? We will be talking about the different formats, that are heavily applicable on digital, but primarily digital. So if you're looking at a communication benefit, right, from a PR standpoint, PR is also becoming very heavily present in digital. So from that angle, I think you'll get a lot of meat in terms of the frameworks that you should use while creating content, not just in terms of writing, but while creating the strategy, right? The entire framework that, like Pooja mentioned, she still uses those frameworks in a current, form, right? Okay, next question is, what are the pre-skill sets required in order to start a career in digital marketing? Okay, so this question is very relative. Okay, and I would like to answer it in this way. When it comes to digital, you essentially have three main sets of skills or areas that you need to focus on. One is data. Okay, the second is communication, right? And the third is understanding the human psyche, right? Because at the end of the day, you are still using digital just like other channels in terms of TV, radio, etc., to reach out to your consumer potential consumers or people who could be interested in your product and service and convert them, right? So when it comes to each of these three elements, you should be passionate about all of these to a certain extent to even, like have like a belief in that, okay, I want to become a digital marketer or a digital marketing expert. That does not necessarily mean that, oh, I'm not that good with data, so this is not my cup of tea, right? Data changes, the role of data changes from different roles within digital, right? So there are hardcore areas of data where, if you're a performance marketer, you need to be very, very number crunching, right, and look at insights in data all the time, versus if you're into content or social, you need to focus more on communication, right, and that aspect, versus if you're into other strategies, say like email, for example, right, you need to understand the psyche, the human psyche a lot more, right? In all of these, you need to understand that there aren't like a lot of prerequisite skills required, right? You can get into any one of these roles as a fresher, right? But if you are actually, there are different ways of doing it. You can either get into digital marketing by taking a program like UpGrads. You can either start a blog, the famous, approach of starting a blog by yourself, setting it up, writing content, promoting it with ads, etc., to see the numbers flow as well. Or you could just research about digital marketing topics and landscapes online to understand how these different strategies are executed. But at the end of the day, to start a digital marketing career, these are the three essential ways that you need to focus on. If you are someone who's already working and who probably does not have that much time to research and figure out what to do, what next to do, how does the strategy work, etc., then I would suggest take up a program which is time intensive, which gives you an ROI within a specific time frame, right? Okay. Uh, okay, so Sandeep is saying the same course is being offered by MICA through Naukri.com. What is the difference between Naukri.com and UpGrad program? Okay, so quick thing, Sandeep, right? So in terms of the program, our affiliation with MICA is still in a way where UpGrad has a lot of the program content, and that is our version of the program, right? MICA, just like you say Naukri.com, MICA has partnered with other institutes as well to share their learnings and offerings with other institutes, right? But those institutes don't have what UpGrad has, right? Now, for specifically to know more about that, you can check out our program page. But to give you something on the top level, right, the kind of industry experts that we're actually bringing onto the table, right, not just in terms of the big names, but more importantly in terms of their domain expertise. So if someone like Sujay Golan, who was, say, the former head of digital global act in Mobi, is coming and talking about remarketing and mobile app marketing, right, then you know that he knows his shit because he's been doing it for the last 5 to 10 years, right? So the kind of industry experts and the variety that we're bringing onto the table is very unique. The kind of case studies that we are doing is again unique. Why? Because most others will not focus on the data aspect of any of these case studies, right? What we do is that we actually go to that particular brand. Say for example, we go to Grofers, we tell them that, okay, how did you do your hyper local targeting with respects to different ad formats where you changed languages and not like from English, and how did that impact you? They will actually share their numbers with us, which we share with our students, right? And they will try to crack the case, saying that, okay, if I was in Grover's situation as a marketing manager, what would I have done? and then you see what they actually did, right? Once the solution is unlocked, right? And then you figure out that, okay, this is very interesting, I could have done this better, and then you can train your brain accordingly. So that is the case study bit. Along with that, the industry projects, we are very dedicated in terms of the industry projects, because we focus a lot on the actual application. So if it's like a website building module, we will actually give you a situation where you have to create a wireframe and information architecture, right? And we'll first teach you how to think about it, and then we'll ask you to apply it, right? So that you understand that, okay, this is what I was taught, this is where I'm applying it, this is the gap, right? Hence I need to bridge this, right? Because you can't get everything at the first go. So that's what we are trying to train you. It's a thought process building, right? And it is there in every module across the program, right? And except all of this, yeah, the live interactions are definitely something that we have built into the program. The mentorship, the one-on-one mentoring calls which are there are dedicated especially for people, who are looking to advance in their careers and don't know how to get into digital, or how to transition from an auxiliary role like sales or traditional marketing to digital, right? Whether it's the right move to make, and if it is, then how do you look at your job role? What kind of companies and roles do you look at is very important, right? So these are some of the, I think, the areas that we are really motivated about, and we really go deep dive, which is probably not there in the industry. But I think you guys are the best, call takers for that. We have done our research, and I'm sharing my databases that, right? Okay, so I think that's great. I think like it was a very insightful session. I got to learn a lot from Pooja, honestly. And I think I really hope that all of you got a good insight of someone who actually did the program, right? And who was very passionate about her role, and not just seeing videos week on week, right? So we do have a lot of other success stories just like Pooja's as well, right? And yeah, so I think that's it from my end. If you guys are interested, now this is the call out for all of you who are, say, already shortlisted, or people who are really interested in the program, to join this batch. It starts next week, that is the 19th of 19th, right? So 19th of June we are starting our cohort, right? So if any of you are still planning to join in this batch, please feel free to contact our team. You can contact us at digitalmarketing@upgrad.com. If you have any other queries around the program, okay, or your digital marketing careers, please feel free to write on the same email, and I'll get in touch with you directly. Okay, thanks a lot, guys, for taking out the time on a Wednesday evening. I hope this session was as insightful for you as it was for me. Take care, and all the best.